You know that moment? Someone says something a little disappointing, a little sad, or maybe just something quietly beautiful, and suddenly your eyes are full. Not misty, full. Tears, right there, before you've even decided to feel anything. And everyone turns to look at you like you've done something strange. "Why are you crying?" they ask, as if you're supposed to have a clean answer ready, as if you could have stopped it, if you'd only tried a little harder. And if you're someone who cries easily, you already know exactly what I mean. You tear up at a commercial, at a song that catches you off guard in the car, at a memory that floats up out of nowhere. Sometimes just imagining something sad is enough to set the whole thing in motion. And you've probably heard the same words your entire life. You're too sensitive. You take everything too seriously. Why can't you just hold it together like everyone else? You heard it so many times that somewhere along the way, quietly, you started to believe it. You started to think there was something a little wrong with you. So let me tell you what's actually going on, because almost everyone gets this completely backwards. People think crying easily is weakness. They think it means you're fragile, unstable, that you can't handle real life. And neurologically speaking, that is simply not true. That is not what's happening inside you at all. When you cry easily, it doesn't mean you're more emotional than everyone else in some messy, out-of-control way. It means your brain is processing emotion differently. Your nervous system is tuned to a different frequency. Think about it like this. Most people have what we call an emotional threshold. A certain amount of feeling has to build up before the tears finally come. For you, that threshold sits lower. And here's where it gets interesting, because that's not a flaw in the design. That's the design working exactly the way it was meant to. Neuroscientists have a name for this. They call it heightened emotional sensitivity. And it's directly connected to something called mirror neuron activity. Your brain has more active mirror neurons, the cells responsible for empathy and emotional resonance. Which means you don't just watch emotion happen, you feel it. When someone near you is hurting, your nervous system registers it, almost as if it were happening inside your own body. When something is beautiful or tender or meaningful, your whole system responds. It's like your emotional antenna is tuned higher than everyone else's. While most people are picking up the basic signal, you're catching all of it. The noise, the nuance, the tiny emotional frequencies that other people walk right past without ever noticing. But nobody explains what that actually means for you. People who cry easily are almost always people who feel deeply, not because they're broken, but because their brains are genuinely wired for deeper emotional processing. You probably notice things other people miss. You can tell when someone is lying, even when they're good at it. You feel the sting of unfairness more sharply than the people around you. And you feel joy more intensely too. Your inner world is vivid, crowded, alive. And yes, some days it's exhausting to live in there. And here's the part almost no one tells you. Most people who cry easily develop this wiring for a reason. Maybe you grew up somewhere emotions weren't safe to show, so your system learned to feel carefully, quietly, on behalf of everyone. Maybe you had a parent whose moods were unpredictable, so you became an expert at reading the room, sensing the shift in the air the second you walked through the door. Maybe you lost someone when you were young, or watched someone you loved suffer, and some part of your brain quietly filed that away under, "This matters, this is important, never stop paying attention." Your nervous system didn't break, it was trained. You learned that staying tuned into emotions, yours and everyone else's, was the safest way to move through the world. So your mirror neurons grew more sensitive. Your amygdala, the part of your brain that decides what carries emotional weight, learned to flag more and more as important. Your threshold dropped lower and lower. Not because something went wrong with you, but because at some point in your life, feeling everything was how you kept yourself safe. Now here comes the part that usually hurts the most. When people see you cry, they don't understand that you're not falling apart. You're connecting. You're feeling the depth of something real. You're having an honest response to a moment that actually means something. But the world taught you to read that response as weakness, so you apologize for it. You say, "Sorry for being so emotional," as if your ability to feel is some embarrassing thing you're supposed to manage and hide and keep under control. But it isn't. It's not weakness. It's not fragility. You are not too much. What you're doing is deep processing. It's your brain recognizing that something matters and responding the way it was built to respond. And honestly, in a world that keeps growing colder and more numb, that's closer to a superpower than a flaw. People who cry easily are usually the ones who genuinely care, not in a clingy, needy way, but in a real, warm, human way. You're the one who notices when someone in the room has gone quiet. You're the one who remembers the small things, the little details that told you someone was struggling. You're the person who can sit beside someone in their sadness without rushing to fix it, or brighten the mood, or make it disappear. Do you have any idea how rare that is? How much that's worth? But here's something I need you to really hear, so listen closely. Just because you feel deeply does not mean you have to carry everyone. Just because your nervous system was built to detect suffering does not mean it's your job to absorb it. You're allowed to cry. You're allowed to have enormous feelings. But you are also allowed to have boundaries. You're allowed to say, "I love you and I can't hold your emotional weight for you today." You're allowed to step back from the things that are simply too heavy to carry. You're allowed to protect your own nervous system, the same one that's been quietly working overtime your whole life. Because as beautiful and real and valuable as your ability to feel is, you can't pour from an empty cup. You cannot process every ounce of pain in the world and still have anything left over for yourself. That's not selfishness, that's survival. So if you're someone who cries easily, please understand this. Your feelings are not a character flaw. They are not proof that you're broken or weak or somehow too soft for a hard world. They are proof that your brain is doing exactly what it was built to do, registering what matters, feeling the depth of things, keeping you connected to the humanity all around you. That is not something to suppress or apologize for or wish away. That is something to honor. Your tears were never weakness. They're a window into how deeply, how fully, how completely you experience being alive. And in a world that's starving for more empathy, more presence, more honest connection, you are exactly what we've been missing. So let yourself feel it. Let yourself set down that heavy shield you've been carrying for so long. You don't have to hold it up anymore. Are you ready? It's over now. You can rest.